Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Mental Health Monday to everyone. Welcome back today and another Monday so we can continue talking about certain mental health. So today we are going to talk about anxiety. Today we're going to talk about what is anxiety. I'm going to explain what anxiety is. I'm also going to explain the symptoms of anxiety, some of the type of anxiety, and the facts of anxiety. Before we started, I want to take a little time to tell you guys this month, March, it's social work month. So if you know any social worker, that's what I am. If you know any social worker and you have seen and you encounter any social worker, I want you to take the time to tell them thank you for all the goods they are doing in our community. We are everywhere. Social workers are in a hospital, we are in clinics, we do also in the government. So you can find us anywhere. I want to take a little time to say thank you to all the social workers this month that is celebrating. And I want you to take time to make sure to take care of yourself as well. So let's get to it. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a very common thing. We all experience anxiety. And anxiety is actually something that's great. Anxiety is something that's good because without anxiety, we will not know certain things. We will not know we do not like here. We will not know I don't want to be here. So anxiety feeling is very common. So what is anxiety? When do we say this is anxiety? Since it's so common and it's actually a good thing. When do we say it's actually a mental illness? We say anxiety is a mental health condition when it's characterized by intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situation. We say it is a mental illness when it's out of proportion, especially of the issue. It's like it's bigger than you're making it. We say it is an illness when it's interfere with everyday activity. It's interfering on the way you are functioning. It's difficult to control. You are notice yourself avoiding places or situation that is to preventing that feeling of anxiety. That's when we say it's becoming a problem. What are the symptoms of anxiety? Like I mentioned, I always like dividing different categories to different when I'm talking about symptoms. So one of the category that I put is emotion. So how do you see what are some symptoms of anxiety you see in your emotion and your feelings? You are seeing a lot of fear. You are seeing a lot of dread. You are seeing a lot of uneasy. You are seeing a lot of worry. You're seeing a lot of scared, terror. You're seeing a lot of feeling of nervousness, a lot of feeling of overwhelming. Those are some of the emotion that you experience of the symptom of anxiety. The other category is physical. Anxiety is a very physical illness. And I see a lot of patients that come in my clinics. I see a lot of patients that come in the clinics that experience anxiety in their body. Anxiety, it's a mental illness that experience a lot in the body. And sometimes we are experiencing with anxiety, we do not know. So some of those physical symptoms of anxiety is you feel fainting. You want it to faint. You are sweating a lot. We see some people sweating in their hands, under their arms, in their face, a lot of sweating. You trembling, a lot of shakiness. Your hand is shaking, your voice is shaking, your body is shaking. Sometimes you even feel numb or tingling in your body, in your hands, in your face. Sometimes you feel pain. physically pain in your shoulder, like right here on top of your shoulder. Sometimes pain in your back. Sometimes you're experiencing stomach symptoms. Some people, their stomach is growling, or sometimes you're experiencing pain in your stomach. Sometimes you're having stomaching issues, like upsetting stomach with food. Sometimes you're constipating, or you have diarrhea. Sometimes some physical symptom is dizziness. You feel dizzy, like when you're getting up, you're feeling dizzy. Experiencing with choking, your heart beating faster, your heart beat very rapidly. Sometimes you can't breathe. You are experiencing with short of breath. You cannot breathe. Sometimes in the body you feel very tired, like you feel drained. You feel chest of pain, feeling nausea. So those are some of those physical experience when you are experiencing with anxiety feelings. Mentally, some of the symptoms is having a hard time thinking. It's like your mind go blank. Having a hard time making decisions. Having a hard time concentrating on things. Having the fear of going crazy. Having the fear of dying, especially when you're experiencing with the heart beating faster. I see a lot of people who come to the clinic. They're like, I feel like I'm dying. Oh my God, I'm dying. I'm experiencing with a heart attack. When really they are experiencing with anxiety feelings. Some actions, some behavior, symptoms is you're avoiding different places. You're avoiding places, you're avoiding people, and it's all depending on type of anxiety, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. You are avoiding places, you're avoiding people, you're avoiding certain things. Sometimes you're avoiding some type of food. Sometimes you're having a hard time sleeping. You're having a hard time eating. Like I mentioned, if it's upsetting the stomach, you are having diarrhea, you're having constipation. There's people who having stomach issues. So sometimes those are the action that you might see. You experience some behavior that's happening with anxiety symptoms. There is different type of anxiety, and I want to take the time to explain the different type of anxiety, because those symptoms different in every different type. So one of the type of anxiety is generalized anxiety disorder. And this one is when you are experiencing anxiety in every things. You generalize anxieties and everything. You're anxious about money. You're anxious about going outside. You're anxious about seeing people. You're anxious about your work. You're anxious, it's like everything. You are very anxious about everything. That's what we call the generalized anxiety disorder. Another type, it's social anxiety disorder, social phobia. It's when you are afraid to be around people. You're afraid of a social setting. You're afraid of talking to people. And those are one of the type of anxiety. Another type of anxiety is separation anxiety disorder. Separation anxiety disorder, we normally seeing it in children. That's when you are afraid to be separate. And sometimes it's separate with something. It can be separate with someone. It can be separate with a thing. Sometimes you can see that child is afraid to be separate from their bottle, or they're afraid to be separate from their teddy bear, or they're afraid to be separate from their parents. We see this a lot when children is going to school for the first time. So sometimes they're afraid to do that. Separation anxiety disorder. Another type of anxiety, it's specific phobia. We actually chose specific things that we are afraid of. Some specific things are animal. You will see someone afraid of cockroach. You will see someone afraid of snakes. You will see someone afraid of spider. They select an animal to be afraid of. Sometimes someone will be afraid of height. Sometimes someone will be afraid of a type of food. So they're experiencing with that anxiety of a specific thing. Another type of anxiety is panic disorder. That's when that individual is having a hard time breathing. They're having a hard time having air, and they're experiencing with a panic attack. They have a hard time. Most people sometimes thinking they are experiencing with heart attack when they are experiencing with panic attack. I see that a lot in the emergency room or in the clinic. People will come in, they say I'm having a harder time. Sometimes people call 911 thinking they are experiencing with a heart attack, and then the individual, the EMT, or they go to the doctors, the nurse, whoever, consult them, realizing they are experiencing with a panic attack. Another type of anxiety is selective mutism. Those, we also see them in children, and sometimes I see it in adults too. They chose a place to not speak. And sometimes you will see the children at home, they're speaking, they are fine, they're talking. However, when they go to school, they don't say anything. Or when they go to church, they don't say anything. So they select a place for them to not speak. Another type of anxiety is agoraphobia. Agoraphobia, it's when that individual is afraid to go outside. We see that a lot after COVID, that people is afraid to go outside of their home. There's quite a few people that experience with that. They're afraid to go outside. So those are some of the type of anxiety disorder, some of the type of the mental illness of anxiety. The fact about anxiety is a lot of people experiencing with anxiety. Like I said, there is a difference that make it a mental illness versus I'm just experiencing with anxiety. The fact about anxiety is treated. It's a treating illness. The fact about anxiety, experience with anxiety more than men. That doesn't mean men doesn't experience with anxiety. It's just that women experience it more. One third of our population experiencing with anxiety. So it's very common. It's a very common mental illness, and it can happen to anyone, any race, any culture. Children, adolescents, elderly, adult, it can happen to anyone. So this is where we are going to stop with our video. So here I take the time to explain what is anxiety, the symptoms of anxiety, the type of anxiety, as well as some fact of anxiety. In our next video, I'll explain what is the cause of anxiety, as well as how we can treat anxiety disorder. We always end our video with our dose of self-care, so we're also going to do that in this video. So the dose of self-care for today, is dedicated to all our creative and artist individuals out there. It's saying that your creativity knows no bounds. Express it freely. Your creativity knows no bounds. Express it freely. When I read this, what it said to me is, if you are creative, don't put yourself in a box. Do it however you want it to. And I'm talking to my creative artists out there. So individuals who paint, who draw, who sing, who like makeup, who create video, who do YouTube channels, who's an artist in clothes. if you are an artist, do not put yourself in any box. And I do know an artist. I have an artist in my life, which is my niece. So I want to dedicate this dose of self-care to her and telling her that your creativity knows no bounds. Express it freely. Do not put yourself in a box. Do not put yourself in a box. Express your art freely. And I dedicate this dose of self-care to all the artists out there, regardless of what you do. You draw, you paint, you sing, you do TikTok, you do makeup, you are a makeup artist. As long as you're creative, it knows no bounds. Thank you so much for all of you guys. Have a happy Monday, and we'll see each other next time. Bye-bye.